Hello, everyone. I'm Beau Bledsoe. I'm the artistic director of Ensemble Iberica, and welcome to our new passport series. We're very excited to be presenting this for you. So I'm going to bring in my good buddy and sommelier extraordinaire, Mr. Aaron Fry.
Hello, Bo.
Hey, nice to see you.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for having me tonight.
Yeah. So how did we come up with this insane idea?
Yeah. Well, a little history. I'm a former student of Bo's, a former guitar student,
Mm-hmm.
and we've managed to keep in touch over the years. I've since kind of moved on to the wine industry, but we really are kind of in the same business. Bo, with what you do with Ensemble Iberica is transform your audiences here in Kansas City to other parts of the world, whether it be Lisbon or Sevilla or Buenos
Mm-hmm.
Aires, through the musicians that you bring in from all over the world, through the sounds of those regions. And it's similar to what we do. I've partnered with Tannin over the years, which is our partner this evening, to present wine dinners and transform and take our guests to regions through the smells, aromas, and tastes of those regions. And with the pandemic, we've been forced to take everything online. And so we were talking, and over a couple glasses of wine, I'm sure, how can we combine both of these experiences and provide a virtual experience and transplant our guests into a different part of the world without traveling, which unfortunately is very difficult these days. So
This is
that's
true.
how the passport series was born. And so tonight we traveled to Lisbon
Let's
in
do it.
Portugal for a Portuguese concert. So yeah, let's. I guess we'll start with Portuguese wine. Winemaking in Portugal has such a rich, unique, and very long history. Winemaking in Portugal goes all the way back to the Roman time, to the Roman Empire. However, in ensuing Germanic and Moorish conquests, they did their best to eradicate viticulture in the country. Of course, alcohol consumption is forbidden under Islamic law. So while they did their best to suppress viticulture, they were unable to eradicate it. Portugal was able to expel the Moors in 1250, and that really was the first time that Portugal was able to create a national identity. Sovereignty followed just some short time later in 1255, and the country of Portugal was born. Now, this was less than about 400 years before the first recorded shipment of port to England by the German House Kopke, and that was in 1638. But around that time, Portuguese wine made it all over the world, especially to the New World. The Treaty of Windsor was signed in 1386 uh, between England and Portugal, and it exists to this day. And to this day, it remains the world's oldest alliance. If you wanted to sell goods to and trade goods to the English colonies, well, then they needed to be levied on English ships. And the Treaty of Windsor sort of was a way to skirt those taxes. And so, of course, England's empire and colonies were expanding, which thanks for America for that one. And so that's really how Portugal was able to make themselves known to the world as a wine growing country. And it was really port. It was Portugal's claim to fame really rests on the shoulders of two great fortified wines in Port and Madeira. But through geographical isolation as well as political isolation, the fascist regime of Salazar didn't really end until the mid 70s. Portugal was really forced to look inward when it came to wine consumption. And luckily, Portugal has a vast array of indigenous varietals on which to draw upon. Over 200 indigenous varietals throughout the country. And what they did really more than any other winemaking country in the world, maybe save for Greece, was they were really able to keep international varietals out. The grapes like Pinot Noir and Chardonnay and Cabernet really didn't see the invasion into Portugal like they did in other countries. So, and that's what to me makes Portugal so unique, and it's such a wine centric country. While they Portugal only ranks maybe 11th in the world in total wine production, Portugal ranks number one in the world in per capita consumption. So, and we're going to talk about a number of these different grapes this evening, which I'm really excited about, and also some of the new young winemakers that are really putting Portugal on the international map as far as competing with some of the best wines, the best dry and still table wines in the world. Um, but just like Portugal's rich winemaking history, they're also rich in gastronomy as well. A unique culture of food, that relies heavily on seafood, being a coastal country, but also breads and cheeses and different cured meats. Um, we're gonna try some salt cod. I know, Bo, you've led tours to Lisbon over the years, so I know you've gotten to enjoy a lot of the different foods
Yes.
from
I started going
Portugal.
about 10 years ago. Yeah. And I try to go every year except this year, of course. And I really do miss the country and the culture. And their culinary thing, it's really interesting and very diverse. And a city like Lisbon has become so cosmopolitan. There's so many different nationalities and languages going on at the same time there. But, the core Portuguese style food, something you would get in a restaurant and something that you would eat in someone's home, are really similar, very comforting foods. Lots of starches, potatoes, seafoods, and the I don't know. It's kind of like Kansas City, kind of how the food marries up with the jazz. They both make a really nice picture, and it's something that I hope we can convey this evening.
Yeah. Well, let's go to Lisbon.
Let's
What do you
do it,
say? All right.
please. All
Yeah, so
right.
everyone should have their food and wine. The shuttle departs from Tannin Wine Bar, and we are going to travel to Lisbon.
It's a very fast plane.
It's great. No TSA checkpoints or anything. This is this is great. So, and that's where actually the first wine this evening comes from. We find ourselves in the region of Lisboa Vinho Regional, which lies just north and west of the city of Lisbon. Up until 2008, it was known as Extremadura, and it was dominated and still is rather dominated by co-ops. You've got hundreds, if not thousands, of small family-owned plots that typically sell their grapes to the local co-ops, and those co-ops are supplying oceans of wine to the city of Lisbon. But Lisboa Vinho Regional really produces a lot of wine in a wide variety of styles too, all different colors, sweetness levels, and even different levels of quality. For sure. The region's position in relationship to the Atlantic Ocean also gives way to a broad array of terroir and really helps to shape the region. Lisboa Vinho Regional has 9 separate appellations which lie within its borders. The Serra de Montejunto Hills run north of Lisbon and essentially cut the region in half. On the coastal side, you've got harsh Atlantic winds and rains, which really batter the vines, making viticulture quite difficult. But on the eastern side, the climate is a lot more forgiving. And that's really where a lot of the higher quality wines from the region are made. And actually, that's where we find ourselves tonight with our first wine from the 2018 Cachal Figueira, Antonio Branco from Lisboa. So Cachal Figueira was a winery started by Marta Suarez and Antonio Cavallo, who's a dynamic young winemaker from Lisboa. Together on foot, they scouted the Serra de Montejunto hills in search of the perfect spot to start their winery. With some assistance and help from the locals, they were able to find four limestone plots outside of the city of Torres Vedras, and these vineyards were semi neglected with some vine age from 50 to 100 years old, and upon seeing these views, it was perfect, and it was there that Cachal Figueira was born. One of those plots was planted to a grape called Vital. Vital is a low acid white grape grown primarily in central Portugal in the Douro Valley, where it's known as Malvasia Corada. And it's typically a blending grape that Antonio took and was the first winemaker to really show what could happen when planted in a cool climate, and what freshness and aromatics that the grape could bring about. So back in 2008, Antonio bottled this wine for the first time. It was the first time ever that Vital had been bottled 100% varietally, and it was to critical acclaim. An absolutely unique wine in the world. Unfortunately, Antonio passed away just before the 2010 harvest, and his wife Marta was forced to take over the winery. And with two kids in tow and no other source of income, and of course, no enological background or former training or really source of income, she was forced to really figure it out. And that's exactly what she did. Through hard work, with the help of some friends and neighbors, she was able to teach herself winemaking. And the wine was originally released as Vinhas Velhas, which in Portuguese means old vine. Uh, After Antonio passed away, she renamed the wine Antonio in his memory. And now she believes that these wines and her winemaking is really Antonio's way to speak to the world. And so it's definitely a winery worth checking out. I think it's 100% biodynamic. She takes a very hands-off, minimal approach to her winemaking. All indigenous yeast, minimal use of sulfur, and that is what's in your glass tonight. The 2018 Cachal Figueira and Antonio Branca, and it's to this day still remains the only wine in the world that is bottled 100% Vital. So absolutely unique in the world of wine, and quite rare too. Only about 250 cases of this wine are made. I'm not sure exactly how much of it is exported or how much comes into the United States, but it's just a fraction of that. So not only do we have something unique, but also rare as well. And as you mentioned, Bo, we with the seafood culture of Lisbon, Chef Brian Aaron at Tannin has paired this with a salted cod, which has got to be probably one of the more famous dishes in Lisbon. In fact, it's said that there are 365 ways to prepare salted cod, one for each day of the year.
Oh
And
yeah.
tonight we have a brandade. So it's the salted cod is soaked for about 3 days, cooked with potatoes and garlic and milk and cream, and then is pureed together to form this spread, served with some garlic toast. So I'm excited about this pairing. And I'm also excited about the music we've got
Oh
coming
yeah.
up.
That's my
So
territory.
yeah,
All right.
tell us about Fado.
I would love to. Fado, fado, fado. So, well, the word means fate in Portuguese, and it's a beautiful, beautiful folkloric music, mostly from Lisbon, from Lisboa. It's kind of like how Argentine tango is really centered around Buenos Aires, and you have, kind of neighborhood styles that have evolved. So how we're going to do the programming here is much like if you went to a Casa de Fado or a Fado house. The lights will be turned low. Everyone knows to be quiet. You can hear a pin drop. Everyone stops talking. And there are no amplifiers. It's always done acoustic in a really small little venue. I'm getting nostalgic. Saudade. Oh, uh-oh. The wine, the food. And they'll play, three fados. And then the lights come back up and everyone has, the party continues. Everyone talks and eats. And it's a wonderful way to listen to music and to socialize and also really respect the musicians. So I've been learning to play Portuguese fado for almost a decade now. And I play the Portuguese guitar, which is kind of this weird little mandolin instrument that's very chimey and bright. It's really tuned funny. It's an extremely unique instrument. And the other principal instrument is the Spanish guitar, but in Portugal they call that the viola. So, the two main things, the three things you'll often see is a Portuguese guitar, a singer, and the viola. Viola keeping time and the harmonic structure, and the Portuguese guitar kind of weaving in and out of the singer, much like a Kansas City jazz saxophonist would with a jazz singer. It's very, very similar, and a very similar night style. They do this till the sun comes up. So I'm going to do a fun little show and tell here. So to my left here, we have this amazing museum piece. This is an English guitar from the mid-18th century. So you probably see where this is going. He had lovely gals like this that would play their Portuguese guitar, and they also had a undying taste for port. So they were trading port with Oporto in northern Portugal, and bringing these instruments back with them. So this particular one is made by Frederick Heinz. It's on loan to me through my friend Gerald Trimble. You can see his little stamp there in the hill right there. And this is just a gorgeous piece. You can see the holes in the neck to insert a capo. Again, his name there in the peg box. And all very noble materials, spruce and curled maple. So after a while, this English guitar becomes the Portuguese guitar that I have here. This was mine. I have like 3 of these darn things now. Anyway, this is my favorite one. It's from the city of Coimbra, and this is very much the style of Coimbra. It's a city hour and a half or 45 minutes north of Lisbon, and you can see the kind of emblematic tuning system here, and you'll see this in all kinds of marketing for Portugal. This fanned out tuning array kind of looks like a peacock. And there's 2 principal styles of the instrument. Mine is, this Coimbra style guitar, and you'll see on the top of the headstock that kind of black tier, the lagrima, and it's very simply built, no ornamentation except for that flower pattern around the rosette. It's a little bit longer than the Lisbon guitar, and it's tuned down a whole step. This is the Lisbon style Portuguese guitar. You can tell a very different personality, a lot of abalone inlay. The neck is a little shorter, the body is kind of squat, and instead of that tier, you'll see that kind of, it looks like the top of a violin, like that snail scroll there. So now when you're in the fado houses, if they're playing the Lisbon style or the Coimbra style guitars. So, yeah, let me play this darn thing for you a little bit. It's an odd style that harkens back to really medieval techniques. You know, when you play the Spanish guitar, your thumb is out like this. You know, we all kind of have seen this. But if you look at old medieval and Renaissance paintings, oftentimes you'll see lute players and English guitar players. They have a sort of a straight hand. So this technique is called dedillo, or dedo for the finger. And you'll see I have a little plastic uña or nail, an artificial guitar pick on my first finger. And so they'll do everything with their thumb and forefinger. Very harmonically rich instrument.
Very bright.
Yeah, very bright, very chimey, and like I said, you don't need an amplifier in a club. It will cut through just about anything. So let's get to the music, and you'll see some of my friends playing the viola and Portuguese guitar, and of course Rodrigo Costa Felix is the great fado singer. He's one of the greatest of our times, unquestionably. He won the Amalia Rodriguez Award, which is kind of the highest honor for a fado singer. And he was also, about 8 years ago, our very first Ensemble Iberica concert series. He was the guest artist and has become a great friend of Kansas City. And when I take tours to 25, 30 people to Lisbon, he is one of the guides. And so some of you have been on these tours, so Rodrigo's an old friend for you. So yeah, enjoy this first set that he made especially for us. And it's not in a fado house, it's just his living room. So here we go.
Hello guys, we're here recording for you. I hope you're all well. Anyway, it's a shame we have to do this way. We were really looking forward to going back to Kansas and see you all in person, but this year unfortunately wasn't possible. So this was the solution we got to be closer to you in the best way possible. Hello, Beau Bledsoe. Thank you very much for organizing this and making this possible. And we're gonna do a couple of songs, most of them from my new album, which by now I can already announce that this new CD has just been recognized by Songlines magazine as a top of the world album. So that means that they think that this is one of the best albums in the world music in the world. Sorry for the paradox, but it's well, it's a great joy for us. We're very proud of this distinction. And let's see if it's possible that we will be able to play for you live next year after all this pandemic situation is over. We're going to start with a song that the lyrics were written by me, and the music itself was by a great musician, great Portuguese musician called Rogério Charras, and it's called Sem Fim. Se fosses tu o sol da madrugada a invadir-me o sono lentamente, seria o peito aberto na chegada que se dá por inteiro e que não mente. Se fosses tu o sonho de uma vida, a luz que fragilmente iluminasse, seria então a paz e a mão estendida que nossos corações por fim juntasse. Se fosses tu em mim, em nós, sem fim, sem medos, sem reservas, sem pudor, seria sempre o melhor de mim e tornaria eterno o nosso amor. Se fosses mais do que eu imaginara, na noite em que sozinho te esperei, seria o brilho e a beleza rara das estrelas que por ti, amor, juntei. Se fosses tu em mim, em nós, sem fim, sem medos, sem reservas, sem pudor, seria sempre o melhor de mim e tornaria eterno o nosso amor. So this was Sem Fim, a song from my new album, Tempo. And before I go on, let me just tell you that we are in my small apartment, making the best of the little space that we have. But we managed to put these two big guys here, two great friends and two great musicians that accompany me everywhere. In the classical guitar, or as we call it in Portugal, viola, we have Miguel Ramos.
Hi.
And in the Portuguese guitar, we have Henrique Leitão. So, the next song is called Enganos, and also the lyrics were written by me in a traditional fado song called Fado Castanheira. Nada do que disse sinto, nem mesmo o primeiro beijo que te dei era verdade. Em cada palavra minto, por ti não sinto desejo e nem sombra de saudade. Em cada palavra minto, por ti não sinto desejo e nem sombra de saudade. Foste apenas um momento, um desvario passageiro, ou uma folha de outono. Que levada pelo vento gelou no frio de janeiro e morreu ao abandono. Foi levada pelo vento, gelou no frio de janeiro e morreu ao abandono. Não quero saber de ti, nem agora, nem depois, nem quero escutar-te a voz. Não digas que te perdi, não chegamos a ser dois, Tu e eu não fomos nós. Não digas que te perdi. Não chegamos a ser dois. Tu e eu não fomos nós. So this was Enganos, and the next song before we do a small break is called Não Digas Nada, and it's also a traditional fado song called Fado Zeca, and the lyrics are also mine. Não digas nada, amor. Não digas nada. Não quero ouvir sequer a tua voz. Que a tua voz, amor, ficou gravada nesse mero acaso que fomos nós. Que a tua voz, amor, ficou gravada nesse mero acaso que fomos nós. Não digas nada, amor, quero silêncio da noite do Alentejo que me acalma. E é apenas nessa paz que o silêncio nos deixa ouvir a voz da própria alma. E é apenas nessa paz que o silêncio nos deixa ouvir a voz da própria alma. Não digas nada, amor, deixa-me estar. Não esperes, nem te guardes para mim, que o vento sul soprando há de levar memórias do que foi o nosso fim. Que o vento sul soprando há de levar memórias do que foi o nosso fim.
Wow.
Boa. I was playing along there. Just beautiful. I love playing with Rodrigo. I can't believe I actually have. He's such a great artist.
I felt I was in Lisbon for a second, almost.
Yes, especially those photos of Mesa de Frades. That's kind of where I grew up with fado. There's really, you can't really learn it. You just kind of have to do it. And that was the place that I lived there for a long time.
Amazing. Well, let's move into another wine, shall we?
Please, yeah, let's do it.
So we talked a little bit about Portuguese wines and how they are making a push towards great dry, still table wines, and because they have that wealth of unique indigenous varietals in which to draw upon, over the last 50 years or so, technology, clonal selection, and winemaking know-how is really allowing them to accomplish this. So the question is, where are these wines going to come from, right? And that's if you look at the map here, if in my opinion, as we traveled north of Lisboa, Vinho Regional, the two regions, often referred to as the non-identical twins of Portugal, are the inland region of Dow and the coastal region of Baraida. And so the wine that we were drinking this evening comes from Dow, which is a very hot and dry region. I mentioned it's protected by the Serra de Estrela Mountains as well as the Luxo Mountains, which provide a rain shadow effect. And how that works is these Atlantic Ocean weather patterns come inland. They bump up against the mountains and they're forced to rise in elevation. And as they do, they deposit all of their moisture on the coastal side, leaving the leeward side completely dry. And the regions are blanketed in granite soils, which provide great minerality to the wines. And Dow, over the last couple of decades, has really undergone a stylistic revolution of sorts. Until the 1990s, the wines were astringently tannic and very acidic and lacking fruit, really, often made by the heavy-handed co-ops of the regions. But now you've got more independent producers and small negociants as well that have really worked to emphasize the freshness and fragrance of the grapes as well as the terroir. And there's a number of winemakers that have really led the charge, like Antonio Madeira and Alvaro Castro. And it's Alvaro Castro's wines that we are enjoying this evening. One of the most accomplished winemakers in Portugal since the 1980s. Alvaro Castro has served as the winemaker for his family's properties, Quinta da Paleda and Quinta da Xais. And it can be a little challenging keeping up with Alvaro's work, as he's a very prolific winemaker, making a vast array of wines. But again, one thing is clear: he is arguably, I think, one of the best winemakers, not only in the region of Dow, but in Portugal itself. And so the next wine everyone should have in their glass is from Quinta da Paleda. It's the DAC 2017 DAC Tinto. Alvaro inherited the properties of Quinta da Paleda, which is located here on the map, in 1980. And he became the winemaker, but his first vintage was in 1989. And DAC to me is just the perfect style of it's perfect example of Dow, right? It's the wines are bold and earthy, and yet elegant and fresh too. And Alvaro, like Marta, has a very hands-off approach to winemaking, allowing the terroir to shine through, I think. This particular wine, and there's Alvaro. This particular wine is a blend of 50% Portuguese grapes and 50% Spanish grapes. 30% is Touriga Nacional, 20% Alfranchero, and then 20% Jaén, which in Spain we know as Mencia, and 30% Tinta Roiz, which in Spain is known as Tempranillo. aged for about a year to a year and a half in French oak barrels. Just an amazing Dow style wine. So, and Chef Brian Aaron has paired this with a charred octopus salad. So it's a roasted octopus that is then grilled, that gives it that nice charred flavor, served over a bed of arugula, which adds, of course, a little bit of spice, and olive oil cured olives, and a confit of bell peppers. Really one of my favorite pairings. Part of the fun of this is when I'm able to get together with Barry Tunnell, the wine director at Tannin, and to taste through all of these wines and really work out the pairings. And this one was really, really exciting, I think. So enjoy that. A couple of you, though, however, picked up some of the extra special wines that we had that were additional on the menu. And the first one is the 2015 Quinta de Seix Reserva Estágio Prolongado. One of the top cuvées of Alvaro's properties in Quinta de Seix. It's the oldest vines on the property. Reserva, in the case of Portugal, means that it's aged for a minimum 2 years. And this is a 70% of a field blend, actually. And 15% Touriga Nacional, and 15% Al Fronchero. And then for those of you that were brave enough to opt for the older wine this evening, we're going to touch on the sibling of Dow, and that is the region of Bereida. And unlike Dow, which is thoroughly Portuguese in terms of permitted grape styles, varieties, the defining ingredient for red wines from Bereida is the indigenous grape Baga. White wines too from a grape called Bissau, but tonight we're going to focus on Baga, which makes up about 75% of the entire region's plantings. Often referred to as the Nebbiolo of Portugal, with its full-on assault of acid and tannin. Sometimes it requires more than 20 years of cellaring just to shake off those green vegetal characters and tannins, and allows the wine to soften. And normally these wines are bottled 100% varietally, which is indeed rare for Portuguese wine. Portugal is wine is definitely a blending culture. Many different indigenous varietals are blended into the final wine, but typically wines from Bereida are 100% varietal. And now through technology and younger winemakings, they've learned through earlier harvest, gentle pressing, and partial destemming, they're really able to soften the harsh approach of Baga, which makes it more reminiscent of Burgundy aromas. And in 2003, there was actually a rule change which allowed for up to 15% other indigenous varietals to be blended with Baga. And so that takes us to the next wine, which is a winery called Cava São João, located here as we travel down. Whoops. Cava São João, the 1996 Poço do Lobo. Cava São João was established in 1920 with houses in both Dow and in Bereida. In 2003, though, the Costa family was nice enough to open up their library and cellar and started releasing wines dating back to the 1950s. And so we felt that we should take advantage of that and try the 1996 Poço do Lobo from 90% Baga, 5% Castelao, and 5% Moreto. So for those of you that have that, we certainly hope you enjoy. And I think Rodrigo has another set ready for us.
Yes, and I also wanted to mention that there are some links in the YouTube description, if you just scroll down, where you can stream his recording, his new recording a tempo, which is getting a lot of critical praise, and something Aaron and I just can't seem to stop listening to for a month. It's a very good record, And there's also a link if you need to purchase the CD. It is an import. But yeah, highly encourage you to do so.
I've listened on Spotify for the last few weeks.
Yeah, it's an incredible record. Okay, here we go.
Welcome back. Here we are again. And we're going to start with a song from my previous album. It's called Mulher. And also a traditional fado song called Fado Zé Grande. Chamam-te linda, chamam-te formosa, chamam-te bela, chamam-te gentil. A rosa é linda, é bela, é graciosa, porém a tua graça é mais subtil. A rosa é linda, é bela, é graciosa, porém a tua graça é mais subtil. A onda que na praia sinuosa, areia enfeita com encantos mil, não tem a graça, a curva luminosa das linhas do teu corpo, amor e ardil. Não tem a graça, a curva luminosa das linhas do teu corpo, amor e ardil. Chamam-te linda, encantadora ou bela, da tua graça é pálida aguarela, todo nome que o mundo à graça der. Pergunto a Deus o nome que hei de dar-te, e Deus responde em mim por toda a parte. Não chames bela, chama-lhe mulher. And now also some lyrics. This CD is very personal, very intimate. It's probably my most personal CD that I've ever made. Also because I have half of the lyrics were written by me, and this is another example. It's called Vieste Tarde, in an also traditional fado song called Fado Noquinhas. Vieste tarde, amor, aos meus dias vazios, deixando no meu peito a mágoa da saudade. E vá por onde for, meus passos mais sombrios vão procurando eito a tua claridade. E vá por onde for, meus passos mais sombrios vão procurando eito a tua claridade. Vieste tarde, amor, sem alma, sem carinho, sem flores, sem aviso, apenas solidão. E seja como for, sempre estive sozinho. Nem mesmo o teu sorriso foi mais do que ilusão. E seja como for, sempre estive sozinho. Nem mesmo o teu sorriso foi mais do que ilusão. Cansei-me de esperar que me desses abrigo e entendesses a dor que nem sequer sentiste, a angústia no olhar, deixaste-a comigo. Vieste tarde, amor, e mais tarde partiste, a angústia no olhar, deixaste-a comigo. Vieste tarde, amor, e mais tarde partiste. And now, before another break, we're gonna do a song that I know that it's one of Beau's favorites. It's called Minha Rua, and it's a very old song that talks about a typical street in Lisbon. Cá para mim a minha rua é um risonho canteiro, tem gatos miando à lua nos telhados em janeiro. Tudo ali é português, tudo ali vive contente. Vive o pobre e o burguês, é pequenina talvez, mas cabe lá toda a gente. Melhor eu nunca vi do que a rua onde nasci. Ai, rua pobrezinha, mas tem uma graça infinda, e é humilde qual a aldeia. Embora digam que é feia, cá para mim é mais linda. E é humilde qual a aldeia. Embora digam que é feia, cá para mim é mais linda. Não há ódios nem maldade, tudo ali é singeleza. Não pode haver na cidade rua assim mais portuguesa. Nada há que seja novo nessa rua da gentalha. Para aqui canto e me comovo, pois é rua do povo que labuta, que trabalha. Melhor eu nunca vi do que a rua onde nasci. Ai, rua pobrezinha, mas tem uma graça infinda, e é humilde qual a aldeia. Embora digam que é feia, cá para mim é mais linda. E é humilde qual a aldeia. Embora digam que é feia, cá para mim é mais linda. E é humilde qual a aldeia. Embora digam que é feia, cá para mim é mais linda.
Oh man,
Rodrigo Costa. Oh yeah, he's a good player, man. He's one of the best.
that was great.
That's one of the things I love about the Fado world. It's so small. Sometimes, when I first went, it felt like about 30 people, and it was really easy to get to befriend like the big stars really quickly. It was like a small high school or something. It was a lot of fun to move around in. Okay, more wine.
Yeah, that was amazing. Well, yeah. So next wine. So we are going to travel north from Dal and Buraida to what I think is the beating heart of the Portuguese wine industry, and that is the Douro Valley. Located here, the most unifying trait of the Douro River Valley is its mountainous terrain. The Douro River, which runs from Spain all the way out into the Atlantic Ocean, cuts massive deep valleys into the granite Morao and Montemuro mountains. The vineyards lie steep slopes, both sides of the river, actually. Granite and schist soils. Schist, what we would call in America slate. There are three recognized subzones of the Douro Valley, each covering a different section of the river, and each expressing a different climate and terrain as the river flows west towards Porto. So, furthest inland, bordering Spain, is the largest section and most sparsely planted, and that is the Douro Superior. Then further out than that is the Cimacorgo, which is the highest total vineyard acreage. About half of all the valley's production is located there. And then lying furthest downstream, the probably the wettest region by far, but the highest density of plantings is Baixacorgo. Still some of the best terroir by far in the entire country, where the highest quality grapes are grown. There's definitely too many to go over that are used in the production of port wine. But Touriga Nacional is the most planted and probably best performer in the region. And so for the next wine, we are going to travel to Quinta do Crasto. As we travel in here into the Douro River Valley, Quinta do Crasto is one of the oldest houses in Portugal, dating back to I think 1615. Now this was long before the Douro Valley became the world's first demarcated wine region in 1756. In the early 1900s, the Constantino de Almeida was the founder of the Constantino Porthouse. Purchased the property, and today the granddaughter of the owner, Lenore Roquette, runs the winery with her husband, children, and now even her grandchildren. The Roquette family has invested a lot of money into this property and still remains one of the best port houses today. It is a blend of, and so we're actually consuming a dry still wine from them, even though they are a very famous port house. But it's a blend of Touriga Nacional, Touriga Franca, Tinta Barroca, and really showcasing what port grapes can do when vinified to be table wines. It's incredibly expressive and fruity, giving a heavy weight on the palate. This is a food wine. And so Chef Brian is chose to pair this with a number of different Portuguese cheeses and meats. The first cheese is a semi-hard goat cheese, queso de cabra curado, which translates to cheese of the cured goat. So it is a raw goat cheese, semi-firm, that's cured in paprika and olive oil. The meats we have a chorizo cantampalo, and then a serrano lomo, and that's a serrano rubbed and cured pork loin. And of course there's some olives and cornichons and of course capers in there as well. But just a very big and bold wine. And so for those of you that are fans of wines like Napa Valley Cab, this is definitely a great answer to something like that. So just a fun wine. Beau, you've got everything over there. You're enjoying it.
Yes, I have a lot of wine glasses on my table here and a lot of audio equipment, so I'm being dangerous.
Be careful. Yes. Well, I guess there's one more set.
Yes,
correct?
We have a third set from Rodrigo and his buddies. I'd like to talk a little bit about the concept of saudade. It's a beautiful word. The Brazilians pronounce it saudade, but it translates into, I guess the best I can do is kind of a nostalgia for nothing really in particular feels kind of delicious inside. I know we all have that feeling for something, or we've felt that before. Well, I hope you have. But it's nice to have a word for that, and it imbues fado, and you hear that word a lot in the lyrics. You'll probably pick it up in the fados that you hear. And so yeah, let's start this third set. Here we go. Rodrigo Costa Felix.
Welcome back. We're now going to do an amazing song, a beautiful song, composed by Walter Roel, and the lyrics are by my great friend and probably the best living poet for fado music nowadays, called Tiago Torres da Silva, and the song is called Para Lá de Cada Vez. Não, eu não sei falar de mim a ninguém. Não, eu não sei dizer que sim a ninguém. Não, eu não sei amar assim, oh meu amor, mas sei que o amor só é verdade quando o silêncio nos invade e eu já não tenho vontade de o dizer, seja o que for. Não, eu não vou falar de ti a ninguém. Não, eu não conto que sofri a ninguém. Não, eu não vou sair daqui, oh meu amor, aqui. Sei que tu só és verdade, porque o silêncio nos invade e já não temos vontade de dizer, seja o que for. Não, eu não vou falar de ti a ninguém. Não, eu não conto que sofri a ninguém. Não, eu não vou sair daqui, oh meu amor, aqui. Sei que tu só és verdade, porque o silêncio nos invade e já não temos vontade de dizer, seja o que for. Sei que para lá de cada beijo há um mundo que eu não vejo. Acho que isso é que é. Now we're going to do another traditional fado song by probably one of the greatest guitar players of all times, called Fontes Rocha. It's called Fado Isabel. The lyrics are also mine, and they're called Redondilha. Falta-me tempo para ser sobre a minha doce ilusão. Resta-me pouco a fazer, muito menos de paixão. Resta-me pouco a fazer, muito menos de paixão. Falta-me fé para sonhar sobra-me pouco prazer. Resta-me um mundo para dar, muito mais para conhecer. Resta-me um mundo para dar, muito mais para conhecer. Falta-me força para amar, sobra-me tudo o que amo. Resta-me a voz para cantar e saber como me chamo. Resta-me a voz para cantar e saber como me chamo. Falta tanta gente boa, sobra a minha mala desfeita. Resta-me a cor de Lisboa e pouco mais me aproveita. Resta-me a cor de Lisboa e pouco mais me aproveita. And now, to finish this small performance that I hope you all enjoyed. This is the possible way to be close to you guys. Like I said, hopefully next year we'll be able to do this in person, live, as we all enjoy, because this performing to a camera, it's not the way we like doing this. We need the contact with people. We need that energy to make it more real. But anyway, we're all here pretending that we are all close and together, and let's see if we can all fight this pandemic very quickly and overcome this worldwide problem that is affecting us all. So like I said, we're gonna finish now with the song that was the single, the first introductory song for this album, and it talks about Lisbon in a way that we were already used to seeing it, to seeing her, lively, filled with people, a very cosmopolitan city with lots of cultures mixed together, and let's hope that we can again see Lisbon as it was last year. But it's a very nice song by a great musician called Luís Caracol, and the lyrics are by my dear friend José Fialho Gouveia. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see each other next year. Lisboa é assim. Lisboa chora ao fado e dança ao samba, sotaca a bossa nova nas vielas. De Angola veio o cheiro a moamba, amores que se vivem nas novelas. Cachupa e com ela um travo a morna, castiça vai Lisboa na avenida. Mulata que ao dançar até transtorna o Tejo quando a vê meio despida. Mestiça com encantos mais de 1000, gindungo e açafrão para o caril. Canções e mais sabores além do fado. Lisboa tem um mundo inteiro nela, tem mar quando se olha da janela. No Tejo pode estar em qualquer lado. Paris que fica ao lado de Berlim, a graça é que Lisboa é assim. Nas ancas traz o beat do momento, mas traz também o fado nas goelas. Às vezes há rodízio suculento, mas há para quem quiser iscas com elas. Carioca não é bica mais fraquinha, tem graça, vem do Rio e é sambista. Café na Brasileira e à noitinha, do bairro alto até Alfama é fadista. mestiça com encantos mais de 1000, gindungo e açafrão para o caril, canções e mais sabores além do fado. Lisboa tem um mundo inteiro nela, tem mar quando se olha da janela. No Tejo pode estar em qualquer lado. Paris, que fica ao lado de Berlim, a graça é que Lisboa é assim. De Lisboa não se é por nascimento, da Guiné vai-se a Pequim na mesma rua. O Chiado não é bairro ciumento, és de fora, mas Lisboa é também tua. Da mesquita às igrejas, tantas fés, há sempre outro lugar para mais alguém. Há mais uma cadeira nos cafés. Lisboa é de quem vier por bem. Mestiça com encantos mais de 1000, gindungo e açafrão para o caril, canções e mais sabores além do fado. Lisboa tem um mundo inteiro nela, tem mar quando se olha da janela. No Tejo pode estar em qualquer lado. Olha, mestiça com encantos mais de 1000, gindungo e açafrão para o caril, canções e mais sabores além do fado. Lisboa tem um mundo inteiro nela, tem mar quando se olha da janela. No Tejo pode estar em qualquer lado. Paris, que fica ao lado de Berlim, a graça é que Lisboa é mesmo assim. Bye bye. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
See you next time.
Thank you, Rodrigo. Beautiful set.
Wow.
Very inspiring.
Yeah, full disclosure, I don't speak Portuguese, but I think I got the gist of what he was singing about. That was
Some
was
heavy
very moving.
lyrics, man. Really. Yeah.
Soldad.
Hell yeah.
So we kind of, as we kind of come to the end, we've one wine and one dish left, and I guess I mentioned before, if the Douro Valley is the beating heart of Portuguese wine, then port wine is the blood that runs through its veins, without a doubt. And for those of you in the audience, if you know nothing else about Portuguese wine, surely you've heard of port. And port can really be broken down into two styles, both ruby and tawny, named after the colors that they really bring about in the glass. Ruby port is bottle aged. That's your vintage port, your late bottle vintage port, which is what we're going to be drinking to finish off. Your single quintas, the Ruby's Ruby Reserve, and then tawny, so named because of the tawny orangish brick and brown color in the glass, is cask aged. So the wine turns a bit orange and brown after prolonged exposure to oxygen, and that's your reserve port. Your aged designations, you see the 10, 20, 30-year aged tawnies and your colquetas. And those are really the two main styles that port is broken down. And there's an organization in Portugal called the Instituto do Vinhos do Douro e Porto, or the IVDP, and they control pretty much everything that happens in the Douro Valley, from declared vintages to the law de Tego, which is the law of the third, basically allowing a port house to only sell a third of their current stock every year. And they also assign grades to the vineyards in the Douro Valley. And so every single vineyard in the Douro is assigned a grade from either A and to F. And those of you that have attended any grammar school can realize what those mean, but they're based off of 24 different criteria. And some of those are natural advantages, considered like elevation, location, inclination, orientation, and then some are more man influenced, like vineyard management, vine planting density, training methods, all the way to the varietals that are grown there. And out of every vineyard in the entire Douro Valley, only 2% of the vineyards are classified as A, or about 100,000 acres in the entire valley. And this next wine that we have is 100% classified as a vineyard. So we're going to take a little journey, Beau. On the map from Quinta de Cresto, it's going to be a very short trip just over the river where the Tedo tributary comes out onto the Douro, and we are going to arrive at Quinta de Tedo. Now, Quinta de Tedo, for those of you who are fans of Burgundy, our final winemaker and owner should be a familiar name. It's Vincent Bouchard, who is one, basically from Burgundy's Bouchard, Pierre et Fils family. He purchased the rundown estate of Quinta de Tedo in 1992 with his wife, just 3 years after their first visit to the Douro, where he fell in love with the wine, the soils, the terroir, the grapes, and really wanted to bring some of that back home. And so that's the wine that we have today, the Quinta de Tedo 2013 late bottle vintage.
Oops.
This single quinta is just 35 acres. Again, as I mentioned, it is 100% classified as A vineyards. It is a ruby port. Late bottle vintage means that it spends just a little bit extra time in cask than a typical vintage port wine. So these are produced from 40-year-old vines, classic Douro grapes such as, again, Touriga Nacional, Touriga Francesca, Tinta Barroca, Tinta Ruiz, Tinta Pomar, Ruffet, and aged for about 3 years in neutral French oak barrels, of course, from his family's estate in Burgundy. And so what evening in Lisbon wouldn't be complete without finishing off with a nice either ruby or tawny port? Tonight's case is ruby, and a pastiche de nata. Beau, have you ever had a pastiche de nata?
Oh
Once or
boy,
twice?
have I! Yeah,
So-
on our tours we take everyone to this place, very famous place, Pastis de Belém. You can see all the tourists lining up for that, and they're just it's a daily thing.
So very traditional egg custard, usually topped with cinnamon. Chef Brian has topped this with some candied cherries to finish it off, and I just can't think of a better way to finish the evening than with a nice ruby port and a pastiche de nata. So to everyone that joined us, cheers! Thank you for welcoming us in your home tonight. It has been wonderful.
It's been a lot of fun to put together. I can't believe now we have Argentina next. Oh my God, that's going to be so much fun.
So I hope you enjoyed the food and the wine. If any of you enjoyed the wines or would like to pick up some more, some of these were incredibly limited that we had to bring into the state of Missouri. So Tannin pretty much has exclusivity on some of these wines. So if any of these wines interest you and you'd like to take some more home, please give Barry and the folks at Tannin a call, and you can purchase some of these wines or more of these wines from them in full bottles versus just 4 ounces, which I know sometimes is just not enough.
Well, should we open it up for questions now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. We've got the chat lines open.
Yeah, I've enjoyed reading the comments. I'm hoping everyone is
Yeah.
having a good time tonight.
Lots of saudade going bouncing around out there in the chat here.
Yeah, indeed. So
All right.
I can't pull my nose out of this wine.
Yeah, it really is enjoyable.
Beau, when was the first time you picked up a Portuguese guitar, and what really inspired you to? Because I, of course, when I met you, it was I sought you out because I was fascinated with flamenco
Yes.
and Spanish music and tango, and I think it's since then I'm really excited with what you've done with the fado music.
Thank you. It's been a long journey. Someone has asked me to take my shirt off. No. Too much wine. I was in the private chat. Okay. Yeah, you don't want to see that at 50. No. Anyway, gosh, it was probably about 1993. There was a guitarist named Carlos Paredes and from Coimbra that played the style of guitar that I have. And he had an album out called Guitarra Portuguesa, and it became kind of an international phenomenon. And Christine Brebs hit me to the recording, and I became kind of obsessed with it. And it was always in the back of my mind. And, I'm trying to think. The idea came up to try and learn fado with Jordan Shipley, and we started grant writing and got some funding to go to Lisbon for a long time with the jazz vocalist Shea Estes for kind of a long residency. And again, like I said earlier, you can't really take lessons or read a book. You just kind of have to learn how to do it. And oddly enough, we were the first Americans to ever do that, or really first foreigners. So we became kind of these quasi-celebrities in Portugal really quickly. So all we did was go to, these quintas and really fancy restaurants where I would never ever eat by myself. And we were just kind of wined and dined for a good month. Didn't get to practice much, but we ate a lot of good food, drank a lot of good wine. Okay, we finally have some questions. How do we get on your trips list? Just send me an email. I'll send you everything you need to know. We go to Spain, Argentina, and Portugal. Obviously, they're not on the website now because we can't travel. But if you just send an email through the website, Kina, I'll respond tonight, and you'll be on the list. You'll be the first to know. Some nice compliments here from Linda.
So, what are some of your favorite fado houses? And Jason asked for wine bars in Lisbon that you might recommend.
Oh, my favorite wine bar is called Nova. It's right down the street from the hotel that we stay at in Lisbon. And send me an email and I'll give you their address. And it's run by these two guys that do, they do these really small dishes paired with the wines. Some days I'm there the whole day. I just can't leave. It's just so good. I hope they're still open. A lot of fado houses and a lot of the little places have closed because, they're going through the same thing. But if you send me an email, I will definitely respond with a list with addresses. I get this question a lot. So I'm more than happy to send that along to you.
And then Aaron Drain, who's actually my contact at Ole Obrigato, who imports some of these wines to the United States from Portugal, asked about the Portuguese guitar.
Oh, yeah, I see that
very,
there.
Very nude. I remember the first time you showed me your oud. the
Yeah.
Turkish lute. I love that. But
Yes.
what kind of wood are these typically made from?
Boy, well, it's the same stuff. All the, I call them the noble woods that, all the violins and guitars are made from. This is just European spruce, or you can use Canadian spruce. This is Indian rosewood, or if you want to pay for it, you'll get Brazilian rosewood. Ebony fingerboard. It's just like what you would see on a Martin guitar, or and this English guitar is maple, a curled maple. Looks a lot like a back of a violin to me. A two-piece back, and then a spruce top, and they're the woods for string instruments haven't changed a lot, and centuries really.
The rosewood is so beautiful.
Yeah,
I know the guitar I purchased through you was Brazilian rosewood, and I paid for it for sure.
Man,
But
hold on to
it's
it.
unlike
Yeah.
anything,
Yeah, it's a real specific sound, and unfortunately, because of deforestation and the very just international laws, it's hard to get that wood anymore, and it does have a specific sound. You can thank lots of evil CEOs for putting it on the veneers for their walls and furniture. It's a highly sought after wood for furniture builders, but we still need it for our guitars.
Yeah.
Okay, we got a
wine
question
stores
from
that
Susan.
carry these,
Yeah.
and you've got there's an email that you can find on the website of Ensemble Iberica, and then wine stores. There might be a few. Some of these again were very, very limited, so you can get all of them through Tannin wine bar, but close by Tannin, places like Cellarat or maybe Gomer's on 39th and Broadway carry some of the wines, and certainly can get them if they don't have them. But yeah, some of these just they came into the state and they all went to Tannin for this event tonight. So I would contact Tannin to get any of these wines in the near future.
Fantastic. Well, shall we call it an evening, and then I'll play a little bit more from Rodrigo, and
Unfortunately, but I suppose it's time.
yeah. Rodrigo made a really lovely video that he published recently of that last song that we heard that was so beautiful, Lisboa é assim, which is roughly translates into "This is how Lisbon is," and it really is one of my favorite cities in the world. And there's a tangible feeling I get when I get out of the Uber or the taxi from the airport there, of it's a capital city, and I immediately feel very calm. All my anxieties and troubles just kind of melt away instantly. I feel very safe. And that song really kind of explains where that feeling comes from. I've got a translation here, the very last letra, the very last verse. It says, from the mosque to the churches, many faiths, there was always room for another. There was always another chair in the coffee house. Lisbon belongs to those who are meaning no harm. It's a nice sentiment.
Yeah.
Okay. And thanks, Aaron. I guess I'll see you real
thank
soon.
You, Beau.
We got to get to work on the Argentina one. February
Absolutely.
5th.
Cheers. Yeah, please join us. So the next stamp in your passport will be Argentina on February 5th, which is a Friday. Hopefully 2 days before the Chiefs play in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and we're already working on the music, and it's astounding. It's a very high level, so I can't wait to do it.
Yeah.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Cheers and good night.
Lisboa chora ao fado e dança ao samba, sotaca a bossa nova nas vielas. De Angola veio o cheiro da moamba, amores que se vivem nas novelas. Cachupa e com ela um travo a morna, Mestiça vai Lisboa na avenida, mulata que ao dançar até transtorna o Tejo quando a vê meio despida. Mestiça com encantos mais de mil, gindungo e açafrão para o caril, canções e mais sabores além do fado. Lisboa tem o mundo inteiro nela, tem mar quando se olha da janela. No Tejo pode estar em qualquer lado. Paris que fica ao lado de Berlim, a graça é que Lisboa é assim. Nas ancas traz o beat do momento, mas traz também o fado nas goelas. Às vezes há rodízio suculento, mas há para quem quiser iscas com elas. Da mesquita às igrejas tantas fés, há sempre outro lugar para mais alguém. Há mais uma cadeira nos cafés. Lisboa é de quem vier por bem. Mestiça com encantos mais de mil, chindungo e açafrão para o caril, canções e mais sabores além do fado. Lisboa tem o mundo inteiro nela, tem mar quando se olha da janela. No Tejo pode estar em qualquer lado. Mestiça com encantos mais de mil, gindum e açafrão para o caril, canções e mais sabores além do fado. Lisboa tem o mundo inteiro nela, tem mar quando se olha da janela. No Tejo pode estar em qualquer lado. Mestiça com encantos mais de mil, gindum e açafrão para o caril, canções e mais sabores além do fado. Lisboa tem o mundo inteiro nela, tem mar quando se olha da janela. No Tejo pode estar em qualquer lado. Paris que fica ao lado de Berlim, a graça é que Lisboa é mesmo assim.